Yesterday ended up being a disaster. It was definitely a day one sort of experience. As I was talking about audio issues and having to probably retrieve a lot of lost audio, etc., I was actively creating some of the most horrendous footage that anybody has ever seen. I come back, I look at the footage, okay, I'm already tired, it's been hours since I got up. I listened to it for the first time and I realize the trains were the last of my problems. The trains were loud. Okay, whenever they came through, that was an issue for sure. However, I can wait for the trains to pass. I can deal with that. Turns out what I did not predict was wind noise, which makes sense. My experience with recording outdoors is very limited. And what I did do, I did in better conditions, with better solutions. I never really ran into a problem this severe with wind noise especially. And yeah, that was a learning experience. I had to go through so many solutions to find something finally that kind of worked. I had to go for everything, obviously, starting with basic EQ, but that would never be enough. So I had to play around with like 10 different AI tools, trying to scrape together anything I could. And then finally I decided, no matter how good the tools were, which some of them were decent, some of them were very impressive, just not impressive enough to create something from nothing. In the end I decided there is no shot anybody's gonna understand what I'm saying if all they have to rely on is the audio. And so I made the decision, I'm gonna go with subtitles. First thing I tried was audio transcription. I tried to minimize the workload as much as I could in the beginning, but I set it started working, and then very, very quickly the estimated time just kept growing exponentially. It was 2 minutes for a minute clip. Fine, fair enough. If that was the case, I could work with it. And then it was 4, and then it was 5, and then it was 30, and then it was 4 or 5 hours. And at that point I realized that with the deadline being midnight, essentially, the original deadline was 8 p.m. because I had to go to sleep and get up and do it all over again, go to the gym, etc. The original deadline was 8 p.m. That obviously did not happen, so I pushed the deadline to midnight. I said, okay, I need to get this done today. Anything else is it's extra. I would like to be able to go to sleep on days when I record, but it is what it is. It's a cost of doing business, I guess. Yeah, that was not it. I ended up having to do burn in subtitles manually, no transcript, go for the video, listen to what I'm saying, cut out all the stupid stuff first, and then sentence by sentence burn the subtitles in. And now, after I finish all that, I think, yeah, if somebody watches the video, they should be able to understand everything because it's on screen. Some of the stuff in there was so horrible, like the audio was so bad that even I couldn't pick out what was actually said. So it's a good thing that I recorded it the same day, because I still remembered the things that are supposed to go there. But had the conditions been any different, I don't think I would have. I think I would have lost quite a lot of content there. Doing the subtitles took me hours. I'm not sure how many hours exactly, but it was somewhere in between 3 and 6. And I lost count because I couldn't waste time on looking at the clock, because the time would run out. And it has, in fact. It took me so long that by the time I got to, rendering and exporting the video, it was already almost midnight. It ended up fully rendered, I think, a couple minutes after midnight. I started the upload, made the thumbnail, etc. And I started uploading it to YouTube. It made it to YouTube, I think, maybe about an hour after midnight. At which point I was already asleep. I could not have done anything more. So the first day was a failure. I recorded like 47 minutes of footage. I needed to cut that down a lot to get anywhere within like working range or anything that like anybody would be willing to sit through. And I rambled a lot, so the content part of that is not very impressive, but it's still good, okay? I managed to cut it down. It's a third of the original size. You can actually tell what is being said if you read the subtitles, and if you don't, well, I'm sorry. But yeah, 47 minutes into 15. That was a lot of cutting. AI, cutting and subtitling and editing and color grading, etc. It took me, I think, easily over 9 hours, a lot of which was subtitling. And Still, I did not make neither of my original deadlines. Not the 8 p.m. deadline, not the midnight deadline. Both of those are failures. But at least, now that it is day 2, I get to reflect and improve. I have a different audio setup. The shotgun microphone is still on the camera, but I don't think any of that audio will be usable. I've learned my lesson there. So I went back to my old solution, which is my Zoom F3, which I mentioned in yesterday's video, with a dynamic microphone. And this time it should be alright. It's a very, very different day. Yesterday, everything was planned, everything was prepared, everything was ready to go. I got up at 4:15, I went to the location. I had as much time as I wanted, right? I started right at the beginning of the day with everything sort of in my favor. Today was different. After that struggle with yesterday's video, I ended up getting up at like 8. I got dressed, I went to the gym. And then by the time I came back, it was already afternoon. Definitely less ideal situation, deadline-wise. I needed to find a new place. I think it's probably better if I travel around a little bit for these videos, if I find new places every now and again. With time, I think I'll probably figure out what spots are good and what spots are bad, but for now, I had to struggle a bit. I had one idea, I abandoned it because I figured that commute was too long. I ended up here. And I ended up here with about an hour of time before the sun sets. With barely an idea of what I'm actually gonna do. I definitely cannot edit like 45 minutes of footage this time around, so I definitely will have to be careful with how much I actually shoot here. I'll have to go back home, and I'll have to put the effort in again. Yesterday, the audio was so bad that to make anything remotely watchable, I had to put in an insane amount of effort, I would say, for something this small, for the burn-in subtitles, right? And I, by doing something so bad, I've inadvertently set the quality bar for my effort on each video way too high. Burn-in subtitles on every video is an insane amount of work, which in most cases will not pay off. But I'll probably do it again today if I have time. If I don't, I will just cut it and I'll upload it. Deadline's more important, I think. Eventually I might actually consider doing them in every video, but for now not. Today has been completely derailed. Okay, I had a routine which I worked pretty hard for. Gym, reading, the nutrition, the food I eat, all of that stuff. It wasn't easy. Sleeping was not easy. Okay, I used to go to sleep at whatever time was worst for me. Whatever time was the least healthy, that's when I would go to sleep. Like 1, 3, 5, 7, 8, noon, whatever. Any time that was unhealthy, I would stay up until then and then go to sleep then, and the next day would be horrible because of it. And since then, a lot of things have changed, right? I sleep at night. I go to sleep very early, I get up very early, and I start my day before everybody else does, right? I go to the gym as it opens, I come back from the gym, I take another shower, I start living. I try to make the most of every minute that I'm awake and that the sun is out. And that was not possible because this new part of the routine, which I think is very, very important, which will become, valuable with time, it has completely blown everything open. Okay, I still went to the gym. I trained for 2 hours as I do every day, but it was not the same. It was a completely different scenario. It was catching up. And for a while, I think it's probably gonna be like that. It's probably gonna be, one day I'm not gonna have time to get breakfast before I get out to shoot. I'm gonna be hungry. I'm gonna have to go get something to eat out in the city, which is not gonna fit my diet or whatever. That's fine. I'll have to pay that cost. There are probably gonna be days where I don't sleep at all, which don't do that, by the way, especially if you're training, if you're going to the gym. It's not good for you. It's gonna hurt you a lot. There will probably come a time where I don't sleep, and there's probably gonna come a time where I skip gym, and there's gonna come a time where I have to spend a lot of money to get something done, all in hopes that eventually I will settle into this new routine, this new, bigger, harder, more difficult way of life, and I'll be happy then. That's the whole idea. All of these things that went wrong yesterday, that's fine. You have to accept that. Life is not all about successes. It's mostly about failures and how we recover from them. Every single success you have usually comes from a lot of effort. You need to spend some time, getting the skills, getting the circumstances aligned so that you can actually succeed, and then every next instance of success is a result of that. And everything else in life is failures. It's failures or inactions. Yesterday was most definitely a failure. It was not good. The audio was not good. The topic was not good. Everything about it was very I wasn't happy with the outcome, okay? It was very barely stitched together. But that's fine. That failure is fine, because the truth is, what happened yesterday was not me going from success to failure. It was me going from no failure to action, right? And that is a very big distinction. I like economics, so whenever I think about stuff like this, I try to think in economic terms, and the idea that pops into mind immediately is cost of opportunity. If you spend your day succeeding at things you've already learned before, or that you're naturally gifted at, and you never try any of the things where failure is possible or likely, then you're never gonna move, okay? You're gonna spend all of your time not failing, but also not succeeding in the true sense. Because every single second you don't try something that you want to do, you're failing at that thing. Cost of opportunity, right? Like, you could be a failure for a day and then gradually improve from there, or you could be an invisible failure for the rest of your life. You could say, no, I don't think I'll do that. I don't think it's worth the effort. I mean, I want to do it, but I don't want to fail. If you go into it with that mentality, you're not gonna end up doing anything. So here we are today, right? I think some things are gonna improve, some things are gonna be the same, maybe worse even. And as I go on, hopefully the amount of mistakes will be lower, the amount of successes will be greater, and hopefully I settle into this new high effort routine. I guess that's about it. I can't go on shooting much longer. I have to still edit this and upload it. I am not ready for the sort of work I'd have to put in for an hour-long monologue at home. So that's gonna be it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Maybe it's gonna be a slightly more interesting, less meta-complaining topic. I'll see you then.